Hey guys, welcome back to Sip and Dip with Chelsea. For today's video, I am going to be sharing my top 10 tips and tricks to a flawless dip powder manicure. So let's get started. Tip number one actually starts before you even get started with dipping, which is picking a beginner-friendly dip powder color. Some shades that I would probably steer clear of if you're new would be neons, dark shades, chunky glitters, whites. Believe it or not, whites can be really hard to use sometimes. I'm not saying you shouldn't use them or you shouldn't buy them, but if you're having a lot of trouble with getting started, picking an easy beginner-friendly shade is my number one tip before we even start dipping. So I would suggest doing something that is neutral and full coverage after 2 dips. Even a shimmer can be beginner-friendly as well. Tip number 2 is going to be having a clean nail plate. So I'm not going to be diving deep into nail prep today, but I am going to explain why it's so important to have everything off of your nail plate so you can have a flawless application. Y'all know how much I love my glass cuticle pusher, so that's what I'm going to use today. Starting in this small corner on my sidewall, I work sidewall to sidewall, gently pushing back my cuticle, doing small little swirls. Imagine if we left all of that on our nail plate. Not only would we experience lifting, but do you think we could have a clean dip powder application with all of that there? Probably not. It's not going to properly adhere to our nail, and it's certainly not going to give us a smooth, even surface for our dip powder application. Once I'm done, I'm going to clean it all out and then follow the same steps for the rest of my nails. Here's how we're looking now that I'm done. I'm going to use my stiff scrub brush to dust it off. Imagine if we left that on our nail plate, not only would we have some major lifting, but we'd also have a really rough, rigid look with our dip powder around our cuticle area. Like I mentioned, I'm not going to dive deep into prep because I really want to focus on application today. So just make sure you do your normal prep routine, whatever that looks like for you, so your manicure will last. The shine that you see on my natural nails is peel base. I use peel base as a content creator so I can keep up with filming and not have to soak in acetone. Peel base lets me pop off my dip powder in about 1 to 3 days. I'll link that tutorial up above, but again, if you want your manicure to last, please make sure you prep your nails to last. So the neutral shade that I grabbed today is Runway from Revel Nail. We're going to start by stirring and fluffing the powder with our toothpick. I'll also be using Revel Nails liquids. Tip number 3 might be the most important tip that I have to offer, which is about liquid control. We really want to make sure we do not have a ton of liquid on our brush. You see, when I just pull this out, how much liquid is right there. If we were to put this on our nail plate, it's definitely going to get on our skin. So we're going to remove the excess product on each side, and this is about how much I like to use. There's not very much on my brush. This is going to help me have more control of the liquid placement on my nail, make sure I don't have any ridging or too much product on the nail plate. Tip number 4 is going to be doing an apex. So I'm going to do one small stripe down the center of my nail, and then here comes tip number 5. Pouring over. The pour over method is so great for beginners. All you have to do is pour it over a cupcake liner and you can still reuse that powder. The reason I suggest the pour over method is because if you don't have your liquid control down, when you do dip into the powder, if you have too much liquid on the nail, it can create not only a thicker manicure, but also cause rippling. The reason I'm suggesting to build up an apex, even if you do have shorter nails, is because I want to teach you guys today that when we put in the work during application, it's going to save us so much time when we go to file and shape. Don't forget to remove that excess product each time before you put it on your nail. All right, here's how we're looking. So this is layer number 1. Now I'm going to use my stiff scrub brush to dust it off. So removing the excess product on my brush, I'm going to go a little bit further back towards my cuticle area and a little bit more on my sidewalls. This is how we're going to build up a gradual arch on our nail, also known as the apex. So an apex is just going to help us have more durability. It's going to add gradual layers so that it's not too bulky at our cuticle area, but we have the strength where we need it, which is for this nail shape at our free edge and right here in the center. Do you see how I have a natural arch going on? We're we're gonna just keep working back towards our cuticle area. So the reason I'm suggesting this for beginners or any nail shape really is because this can benefit you if you need more strength. It can benefit you if you have flat nails. And also, like I mentioned, this is going to help if you struggle with filing and shaping. We're basically putting in the work during application rather than trying to file and shape this natural shape onto our nail. So if you do have shorter nails, you could absolutely skip this step. If you truly wanted to, you could go in for just 2 full layers, but I do want to show this because this is how I think we can get a beautiful, flawless application without cutting up our skin if we're not really ready yet when we go to file and shape. As always, just removing the excess product from our brush bristles. Here's about how much I have on there. Tip number 6 is going to be a trifecta of tips. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to rest our finger pointed slightly downward. This is going to help gravity keep that liquid off of our skin and cuticle area. We're also going to be resting our right hand on the desk. This is going to help keep us stable if we accidentally shake. And now the big one. If we were to put this brush right at our cuticle area, we run the risk of getting it on our skin, which we definitely don't want. That's not going to give us a clean application and also cause lifting. So we're going to start it here, fan our brush bristles and guide the liquid back, then drag the excess down, going all the way to our sidewall area, making sure we don't get this on our skin, and rolling our finger to the other side as well. Pouring the powder over, I like to make sure I'm fully coating the nail, going sidewall to sidewall. Tap off the excess, and here is tip number 7, a precision tool. You can also use a toothpick, but I really like this one. I feel like it gives a cleaner look. So holding my skin back, I'm gonna run this around my cuticle area. I'm not pushing at all. This is just gonna clean up anything that might be on our skin. Notice again, I'm gonna push up towards my skin. I'm not removing the product on the nail. I'm just going in an upward motion, gently pushing my cuticle area up while I run it around the dip powder, making sure nothing's on my skin, and it's going to give a clean cuticle look. Removing the excess product on my brush, we're going to start it right here on the nail and then guide the excess back. I can't stress liquid control enough. It's why I keep preaching it in all of the videos about making sure we don't have too much on our brush, and it's going to help us have an overall flawless application and spend less time when we're filing and shaping. So again, tap off the excess powder when you fully coated the nail, and now with my precision tool, I'm going to run it around the cuticle area in an upward motion. I'm not applying pressure, I'm not pushing, I'm being very gentle, just removing anything on my skin. So as I mentioned earlier, if you wanted to skip building an apex, you would start at this point. So your first layer would be a full layer. I just wanted to show building an apex because I do believe that it's going to give you that salon quality look. It's going to give you more strength, and it's going to help you if you do struggle with filing and shaping. Once you're done with each of your nails and they're dry, dust everything off with a stiff scrub brush. All right, here's how we're looking. You can see I've slowly built up a gradual arch to my nail. We're gonna do one more full layer of color. Starting it further away and then guiding it back towards my cuticle area. We're gonna do another full layer, making sure we do not get this on our skin, going sidewall to sidewall, just rolling our finger, dragging the excess product down, and then pouring the powder over top. I see I have a little product right here, so I'm going to pull my skin back and just run the precision tool all around my cuticle area to make sure I just have an overall clean application. I can't stress that enough. I feel like as beginners, if we can teach each other how to have a cleaner application, we are less likely to hurt ourselves when we go to file and shape, because it can be a little bit upsetting and stressful when we see we've got bumpy or lumpy nails when we go to file and buff, and you might be a little bit overzealous around your cuticle area and possibly hurt your skin. So let's put in the work during application so we don't accidentally hurt ourselves. I want to point this out. If you notice I have a little bit of bare areas on my ring finger, I'm going to really focus on getting the liquid covering those spots. So see how I press it in? I noticed I have a bare spot there. This last layer of color is our chance to really perfect the nail. So focus that on your second full layer to make sure we're getting a full coverage. All right, so follow these same steps for the rest of your nails, and here's how we're looking. Once they're fully dry, we're going to dust them off with a stiff scrub brush. Okay, y'all, tip number 8 is clear dip powder. This might be one of the most frequently asked questions I receive, which is, do I have to do it? Can I do 3 layers of color? The reason that is so tricky is because every single color is different. I've been dipping for several years, and I can tell you, I would just suggest to do it because if you get to this point and you put in all this work and you go to file and buff, let's say you're doing a darker color and you notice you get file marks, scratch marks, or maybe it turns the color cloudy. If you're doing glitters, it's gonna turn them silver. It's just not worth it. My tip would be to just use the clear. So I'm doing a full layer with my base liquid, avoiding my skin and sidewalls. I notice I have a little bit extra liquid on my brush, so I'm just removing it back into the bottle. And then we're gonna pour the clear dip powder over top. So no, you do not have to do clear. You don't have to do anything in DIY nails. You can do whatever you want, but these are definitely my tried and true top 10 tips because I have lived it. I have done it and I've tried to skip it. And honestly, it's just not worth the heartache. Once you get to this point, you go to file and shape and you ruin an entire manicure that you spent hours on by not protecting it with clear dip powder. Once you're done clear capping all of your nails, dust off the excess powder, and here's how we're looking. Another great benefit of clear is it's going to add more strength. This is it, y'all. You are done with the dipping. So here's our arch that I was talking about. Now I've got the strength where I need it, and I'm not gonna have to do a whole lot of work when I file and shape. Now with my activator, I'm going to apply a very generous layer of this product to all of the nails. This is going to harden the base liquid so that we can file, shape, and buff. Now we're gonna wait 2 minutes and then we're gonna file. All right, y'all, tip number 9 coming in hot is filing and buffing. This is my favorite nail file. It's the Macart 100/180 grit. The 180 grit is what I like to use during application. You can see this is the 180 grit side. The higher the grit, the less coarse. Notice how coarse and gritty it looks on the back side. This is the 100 grit side. I use this during removal, so I like to use that to get the top coat and the bulk of the product down. So I start by going around my free edge area first to get my shape back. When you have a clean application, this is not going to take very long, so notice how quick this is. I'm just going around a little bit and getting the shape back on my nails. Here's where the game changer was for me when I started doing my own nails. It was focusing around this cuticle area and sidewall. So I'm going to use the 180 grit side of my nail file to really blend down that area and make sure it's not too bulky. I am not pressing the file downward, so we're not going to angle it downward because that is going to not only cut our skin but possibly dig into our natural nail. So we're going to leave it flush and we're going to go all the way around our sidewall and cuticle area. Again, not digging down and not applying a lot of pressure. Notice how I'm using my thumb to pull my skin back so that I can get all the way up into those corner areas. I'm just working my way down the sidewall and now back up around my cuticle area to make sure it's nice and blended down. This is why I really love the precision tool because it did the work for me during application so that I don't have to spend a lot of time when filing. So see how I've got a nice clean look? Now we're just going to run it across the entire top surface. This is going to blend down where we did all of those layers. I'm not doing this to remove product. I'm just doing this to blend all of the layers that we built up. This is in real time. This is not sped up. I would follow these exact same steps on each of my nails, making sure I just blend down those layers. This is not to remove bulk of product or anything like that. It's just to smooth out the nail. So once I'm happy with it, here's how we're looking. I just look it over, make sure everything looks good, and then we're gonna use a buffing block. This buffing block is amazing. I love this buffing block. I'm gonna use this up around my cuticle area again. Not digging down into the nail, I'm leaving it flush. This is going to do a final smooth over of our cuticle area, making sure everything is nice and crisp and clean, and then we're gonna run it across the entire top surface. Let's say maybe your application wasn't as clean as you wanted. The buffing block can work miracles. If you think you're done buffing, go back and buff some more. It really will help so much with smoothing out any imperfections that maybe happen during application. So again, use that buffing block, go across the entire top surface and make sure it is nice and smooth. All right, so I went ahead and finished the rest off camera. Here's how we're looking. We're gonna dust off the excess powder and activate again. So apply another layer of activator to all of the nails and then wait 2 minutes for it to dry. After 2 minutes have passed, I'm going to use a dry napkin to rub it across the entire top surface of the nails to get them ready for top coat. The same concept goes for top coat. We're going to remove the excess product and then do 3 quick strokes on the nail. This is in real time. I know it seems kind of slow, but it is just 3 quick strokes, basically floating it across the nail. Top coats for dip powder liquids do not like to be over manipulated. It's not like nail polish. They don't want to be over corrected on the nail. So 3 quick strokes is all you need. Once it's dry, then we're going to go in for our second layer. The second layer is more precise and detailed, making sure we get all the way over to those sidewall areas and really capping off our free edge. Dip powder top coats can be tricky. I actually created a video on how to get a high shine top coat. I'm going to link that up above. I do have an entire playlist of do's and don'ts for frequently asked questions such as chipping, cracking, thick and lumpy nails, removing dip powder nails. So I'll link that playlist as well down in the description box. I would love to hear if you have any other questions of topics that I can cover in videos, and hopefully today's video was helpful for y'all. I do still have one more tip coming once our top coat is dry. Tip number 10, y'all, is cuticle oil. It is so important to use cuticle oil after every manicure. Use it every day. Use it several times a day. I have these stashed all over my house. This is going to help so much with your overall nail and skin health. It prevents hangnails. It promotes nail growth because you're massaging the oil into your nails. It is overall one of my top 10 tips for a beautiful, flawless manicure because you are taking care of not just your skin, but also your nails. All right, y'all, you made it to the end. Those were my top 10 tips and tricks to a flawless dip powder manicure. Feel free to drop yours down below if something was such a game changer for you. I love seeing what y'all have learned along the way through your dip powder journey. And those were mine that I have learned through mistakes, trial and error, and practice. Thank y'all so much for being here, and I hope you have an amazing day. I'll see y'all next week.